Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio and welcome to week 52 of the Stash Buster block series. This is the last block in this series and we've got enough blocks to make a 72 by 72 inch quilt. The block today is called Arrowhead Puzzle. This is an 8-inch 4-patch block. It goes together really quickly. It just uses 2.5-inch squares and 3 different colors. So I hope you'll join me and I'll show you how to put this block together. Okay, here are the pieces that you're going to need for this Arrowhead puzzle block. For your background, which I'm using white, you're going to need 8 2.5-inch squares. For your light color, you'll need 6 2.5-inch squares, and for your dark, you'll need 2 2.5-inch squares. And on this block, I recommend just laying out the block and then sewing it into rows and then sewing the rows together. So we're going to start here with the background, and this is the top left hand corner. Start with a white and then we're going to use a medium, and then 2 more whites. And my white has a print on it. This is a white on white, so I'm making sure I have the right side up. The second row is a medium, then a dark, and then another medium and a light. And then for our third row, we start with a light, a medium, a dark, and a medium. And then for our last row, we need 2 whites, 2 backgrounds, and then a medium, and then another light for your background. So there we go. So we're just going to sew all of these together in rows and then sew the rows together. Okay, we're starting with the first 2 pieces of the first row. And just line up your raw edges and stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to sew the next 2 pieces in that row. I'm not going to cut the threads yet. I'm going to just go ahead and sew these 2 pieces together. Okay, I am going to do these just 1 row at a time. And then we'll open these up. So we're sewing the medium to the 2 lights. Okay, so here is row 1. Just lay that right back on your working surface there. Just lay it right back into position and start with row 2. So we've got a dark and a medium. And then the next 2 pieces is the medium and the light. And then we'll sew the medium onto this piece onto the dark of this piece here. So I'm not pressing seams until I get all of the rows sewed together. So I got row 2. I'll lay that back. Now I have a light and a medium. and a dark and a medium. And then we'll sew the medium of the first two to the dark of the second two. Okay, lay those down, and the last row, the first two pieces are both white, or the light color. And get these two lined up a little better. There we go. And then a medium and light. Okay, and then we're going to sew the medium of the second set of two to the first two pieces, which are both the background, the light fabric. Okay, now we're ready to do some pressing. For this block, I recommend just pressing all to one side and just alternate the way you're pressing from row to row. So on this first row, I'm going to press towards my left, and then the second row I'm going to press towards my right, and then we're just going to alternate each row. So this one's going to go towards the left, and then this one towards the right. Okay, so now I'm ready to sew all of these rows together to form the block. So we're just going to start with the first two rows. Let me press that back down. There we go. And we just have to meet seams. We don't have any points in this at all since they're all squares, but we do have to meet the seams, which is why I am pressing them in opposite directions. So the seams will nest together and they'll sew together real easily. Now you can pin these seams together if you want to. I'm just going to go ahead and match them up as I go. And you can feel when they're nested together well with your fingertips. Okay, now I'm going to sew the second two rows together, so rows 3 and 4. Okay, now I can sew rows 1 and 2 to rows 3 and 4, and the block will be ready to press. So just going to follow the layout in the diagram and make sure I get those in the right position, and those seams should already be pressed so that the seams will nest together. So the block is done. We just need to press it and take a look at it. Okay, so when you press this block, you can press your seams open if you want. You can press them all to one side, whatever you want to do. I'm going to just press them to one side and just being careful not to stretch anything out of shape. And if you want, give it a steam and give it a couple shots of steam. Make sure it's nice and flat. Okay, so here we go. We have the Arrowhead Puzzle block. Okay, I have 4 of the Arrowhead puzzle blocks up on my design wall, and they're all facing in the same direction. So this is the design you would get if you put them in that orientation. Now this block can be rearranged differently, and if I would change this block around and this one, then we have this layout. So it forms kind of like a box, and then if you had another set exactly like that, you'd wind up with kind of intersecting blocks. So I think that would be an interesting design. Now if we would turn them so that they're all kind of facing towards the center like this, that's pretty much like that other layout, except this is what you would see like on the end. So you would have like a larger block here and a small block there. So that's another look for that block. That is the Arrowhead Puzzle block. I hope you enjoyed this video on the Arrowhead Puzzle block. This is a really quick block. And it's just made out of squares. There's no triangles or anything to worry about. It's just color placement of your squares. So it's a cute little block, and you can get an interesting secondary design when you lay this in a straight set. So I hope you give this one a try. Now next week I will have some layout ideas for you on how to put all 52 blocks together in a quilt, and then I'll show you some of the projects that I've been working on with these blocks. I decided not to make one quilt out of all the blocks, but I'm making several small quilts. I did make anywhere between 2 and 4 of each block, and not all the blocks have the same fabric in them in a set. Like each set of 4, some of them have a different fabric in each block. So I've got different ideas for how to use those, so I hope that will give you some ideas too if you don't want to make one single quilt out of all of these blocks. But you'll have some options there that you can think about and see if any of them fit your needs. And then after that, I'm starting a new series. It's going to be vintage quilt blocks, and we're going to be making this. This will be more of a quilt-along project instead of just a quilt-along block. We will work on some vintage blocks and make enough of them to put into a project of some kind of quilt, more than likely. And we'll see how that goes. So I'm still in the design phases of that, so hopefully I'll have that ready to go in a couple of weeks, and I hope you'll join me for that. So in the meantime, I hope you all stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.